distinguished guests, members of faculty, and my fellow future managers, a very good morning to all. Welcome to the inaugural session of Conventus 2015, the annual management conclave, IMI New Delhi. I, Shivam Saraswat, and my co-compare Parul Kapoor will take you through this session.
The theme for Conventus 2015 is Emergent Vision to Enhance Reserves of the Global Value Chain, Building Brand India. Times have never been more inconsistent with unpredictably and quickly changing environment in terms of customer, competition and market share in business. There has been a significant structural shift in the global economy. Global value chains have emerged as the representative of growing specialization of the structural shift. Global value chain includes a lot of activities right from the start till the final product. For example, designing, producing, marketing, and finally supporting the consumer. India has proven its mettle in the service industry, whereas manufacturing needs are being taken care of by our neighbor China. Being the core for the service industries, India needs to emphasize on customer relations and mass customization, as these two parameters are essential when it comes to adding value to the global system. India is marching its way forward to mark its presence in the global value chain. India launched its Make in India campaign so as to build brand India with its prime focus on talent, tradition, tourism, trade and technology. This focus envisions India as a global superpower, not only in the service industry but also in becoming the future manufacturing hub. At Conventus 2015, we have corporate leaders coming together to discuss, deliberate, justify and elaborate the significance of evolution in terms of innovative offering and their value addition to the economy. The challenges faced globally can be effectively addressed with an efficient use of the global value chain. Now, we would like to play a video about Conventus 2015.
insight into the topic, we are honored to have amongst us Mr. Sandeep Goyal. I would request our Dean Academics and Alumni Affairs, Professor B.A. Maitre, to present our chief guest with a bouquet as a token of respect. I would now like to request Professor Nija, Dean Executive Education and International Relations, to present a bouquet to Dr. Bakul Dorakia. I now request our Director General, Dr. Bakul Dorakia, and our Chief Guest, Mr. Sandeep Goyal, to kindly light the lamp of learning and open the ceremony. I also request Professor Nija and Professor Maitre to please join them. Thank you. Now I will request the General Secretary of Student Council, Shashwat Goyal, to kindly brief us about Conventus 2015.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the entire student fraternity at International Management Institute, New Delhi, I, Shashwat Goyal, extend a warm welcome to our distinguished chief guest, Mr. Sandeep Goyal, Dr. Bakul Dholakia, Director General, IMI New Delhi, Professor B.A. Maitre, Dean Academics and Alumni Affairs, esteemed faculty members, and my fellow future managers. Conventus is the annual management conclave of IMI New Delhi to be held from August 21 to 23, 2015. Conventus is a conference or sangam of thoughts and deep insights. The three-day event acts as a converging point of industry experts and management leaders across broad disciplines of marketing, finance, operations, human resource, information management, analytics and consulting, economics, entrepreneurship, and strategy. Taking the tradition forward, the underlying theme for Conventus 2015 is Emergent Vision to Enhance Reserves of the Global Value Chain, Building Brand India. To make a way forward for India's participation in the global value chain, the government has triggered the Make in India campaign to build Brand India, with a focus on the 5 T's, which are talent, tradition, tourism, trade, and technology. The concept of global value chain not only challenges the conventional view of looking at economic globalization, but also the policies that need to be framed around it. The need of the hour is to identify and overcome these challenges in order to shift the focus towards opportunities and achieving a strategic competitive advantage along the length of the entire value chain. This will help India to redefine its scope and rediscover its potential so that these reserves of the globe can be trapped efficiently and utilized effectively. The conclave shall have a live streaming so that we could share the plethora of thoughts beyond IMI as well. The entire student fraternity has worked very hard to make this conference possible, and we hope each one of us have enriching learning experience and takeaways towards the end of this conclave. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shashwat. We would now like to introduce our Director General, Dr. Bakul Dolakia Padma Shri. Sir needs no introduction. Dr. Bakul Dolakia is currently the Director General of International Management Institute, Delhi. Dr. Bakul Dolakia was one of the most successful directors of IIM Ahmedabad. Dr. Bakul Dolakia, prior to joining IMI, was the director of Adani Institute of Infrastructure Management and Gujarat Adani Institute of Medical Science, Bhuj. Dr. Bakul Dolakia is a gold medalist from Baroda University and holds a doctorate in economics. Dr. Bakul Dolakia has over 46 years of professional experience, including 33 years in IIM Ahmedabad. During the course of his long tenure at IIM Ahmedabad, Dr. Bakul Dolakia occupied the Reserve Bank of India chair from 1992 to 1999, served as the dean from 1998 to 2001, and as the director of the institute from 2002 to 2007. Dr. Bakul Dolakia has received the Best Professor Award for his teaching in the postgraduate program at IIM Ahmedabad. He has guided 20 PhD professors, PhD students specializing in economics, finance, business policy, and public systems at IIM Ahmedabad. He has been a consultant to various national and international organizations. In 2007, Dr. Bakul Dolakia was awarded Padma Shri by the Government of India in recognition to his distinguished services in the field of education. The Global Foundation of Management Education, jointly formed by the Association of American and European Business Schools, has nominated Dr. Bakul Dolakia as a member of the board of GFME representing Asia in 2006. In 2008, Dr. Bakul Dolakia was awarded with the Bharat Asmita National Award for his contribution to management education and teaching by the Honorable Chief Justice of India. Dr. Bakul Dolakia has been a major guiding force behind the numerous initiatives and expansions of activities in IIM Ahmedabad, contributing to his enhanced international image and recognition. His achievements in institution building have been nationally and internationally acclaimed. Dr. Bakul Dolakia has been a board of member of Reserve Bank of India Western Area Board from 1993 to 2001. In recognition to his efforts to improve the quality of management education, Government of India had appointed Dr. Bakul Dolakia as the chairman of the National Board of Accreditation for Technical Education in India from 2005 to 2008. He has also served as an external director on the board of several public and private sector companies. He has an extensive experience of conducting executive development programs for top management for leading companies and also for senior bureaucrats in India and abroad. He has also served as a member of jury for various corporate excellence awards and selection committees for CEOs. Over the last 2 decades, Dr. Bakul Dolakia has worked on numerous government committees, the recent ones of the being Rangarajan Committee on Pricing and Taxation of Petroleum Products in 2006 and the expert group of pension fund constituted by the Government of India 2008. The Competition Commission of India has appointed Dr. Bakul Dolakia as a member of Eminent Person Advisory Group, which serves as a think tank to give broad inputs and advice on larger issues impacting market and competition. Dr. Bakul Dolakia is an author of 3 books, 12 books, 28 monograms, and more than 50 research papers published in professional journals in India and abroad. His areas of specialization include business economics, corporate strategy, development economics, and public entrepreneurship management. Sir, we welcome you to request the audience.
Our distinguished guest, Mr. Sanjay Goel, my colleague and Dean Academic Programs, Professor Maitri, Shashwat, my faculty colleagues, students of postgraduate programs, participants, including the ITEC participants present here, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it gives me great pleasure to be in your midst this morning and being a part of the inaugural ceremony of Conventus 2015. When I joined IMI about 10 months ago, and I learned that IMI conducts this annual management conclave called Conventus. I couldn't help comparing it to the conclave which we call Confluence, which we organize at IIM Ahmedabad. And when I looked at the design and the manner in which it is conducted, I was indeed very happy about it. I think the identity of a business school, and particularly a premier business school, depends on many things, and the kind of events that the student body organizes plays a very dominant role in that. Not many institutions have the capability to organize a theme-based event which has largely academic content and which is contemporary and contextual in terms of the emerging management practices and the issues that the management profession and the nation faces at any given point of time. And I must therefore compliment the student body for identifying the most relevant theme in today's context in terms of participation of emerging markets in the global value chain, and what is it that India can really do in this particular regard. This is fairly sharply focused, absolutely contextual and relevant, and I think it will also add significant value to whatever learnings that would have taken place in the program. And the kind of galaxy of speakers that we have lined up, and very auspicious beginning we will be making with Mr. Goel, who would be talking to us to kickstart this event. I think these 3 days, I'm confident, are going to be very exciting and very interesting for the entire student fraternity here. I would like to use this occasion to say a few words about what I feel is the relevance of this particular theme in today's context. If you look at what has been happening in India in the last 3 years, there is no doubt that we have participated in the global economy on an increasing scale over the last several years, and particularly after liberalization in 1991. The integration of Indian economy with the global economy has been increasing very substantially. However, this increasing integration of late has become more lopsided rather than balanced. And whatever were considered as our strengths, question marks are also arising on sustainability of some of those strengths going forward into the next couple of decades. Inevitably, the developed, advanced countries of the world will mature with the process of time. But the fact remains that almost 3/4 of the purchasing power is still in the advanced developed countries. Their additional income generation processes might have slowed, but their sheer size means that even a 2 or 3% growth in those countries brings about additional purchasing power, which is substantially more than what the emerging markets could really have. And therefore, our focus on the developed markets, at least for quite some time to come, has to stay. Now, the question is that while emerging economies have started growing at a much higher rate as compared to the global markets, the enhancement of the growth potential and therefore reaching the next level of development for these emerging market economies very much depends upon participation in what is now popularly called the global supply chains. And of course, many countries have formed regional blocks, and therefore the regional supply chains have also become very, very important. Unfortunately, India has failed to participate in this emerging world economic order because, quite frankly, we are not a part of any major regional trading bloc. Come to think of it, I mean, we are a part of SAARC, and SAARC, until the new government took over in 2014, was more of a joke rather than a regional trading bloc per se. I mean, there was hardly anything that was, I mean, SAARC was having inherent problems because the countries of SAARC were not getting along with each other. I mean, and there are a lot of problems between nations. In any case, India is disproportionately large with respect to the remaining SAARC members for India to really benefit significantly out of SAARC. Whereas every other nation, barring China, is a part of a major regional trading bloc. Now, so that route was not that easily available. It was the UPA government that made a lot of efforts to get into the ASEAN trading bloc, with some success but not a very major success, because ASEAN is a reasonably close group. But the fact remains that ASEAN as a trade entity, the growth has been spectacular in relation to the most other countries in the world. Now, it is in this context that building strong international linkages, establishing strong economic partnerships with countries, and that is why the new Prime Minister has embarked upon bilateral route in order to build linkages with the rest of the world, because strong economic ties which are focused both on trade and investment is an integral part of the future vision for this nation. It is good to dream of being a part of the Super League and among the top 3 in the world, but the top 3 in the world cannot be merely by way of size. It has to also bring with it the quality of a developed nation, the diversity of a developed nation, and all of that is not possible without establishing very strong linkages with the rest of the world. And therefore, our Prime Minister has been reaching out to each and every nation that would matter, because that's the closest substitute you can have to not being a part of any formidable trading bloc. And I think India's participation in the global value chain has to be viewed in terms of this larger macroeconomic strategy that we are trying to look at. Now, for a long time to come, we were not bothered about what was going on in East. We were only focused on the West. And I think we are trying to bring a lot more balance. And if you look at the developments of the last 10 years, I mean, many of you may be surprised, but in the year 2005, if you look at the trade statistics, India ran a trade surplus with China. Can you believe that? That in 2005, we had a trade surplus with China, and today we are running a massive, huge trade deficit with China. So much so that it sinks your trade balance completely. So this is basically implying that for 10 years, while we kept on taking strategic initiatives at the thought level, we did not do much at the action level. And that is the reason why we could not, what was an advantage got converted into a disadvantage. And we cannot allow these things to carry on. So therefore the big plans that we have, now whether you talk about Make in India, that is a Make in India movement, or you talk about the Skilling India movement, nothing of this is going to fructify unless we are able to ensure effective participation in global value chains. And this government is very well aware that participation in global value chain requires some basic action at every stakeholder level. obviously the government is the most important stakeholder, and therefore you have to put your policy framework in order. You have to improve the ease of doing business in India. You have to create a policy environment that is conducive for India's participation. And of course, the regulatory framework has to be modified in order to allow this. But that is not enough. I think it is important that our educational institutions and professional education must also cater to the requirement of participation in, and that is the reason why the Skill India mission is very, very important. Beginning from vocational education to higher education and professional education, the integration has to take place, because participation in global value chain jumps the barrier of being able to finally sell a branded finished product in the destination markets and enables you to participate at intermediate stages. But that intermediate stages, plus remember, in an open world economy, the buyers have multiple choices. And unless you ensure quality, unless you are cost competitive, and unless you are a reliable supplier, where the reliability it becomes a very, very important. Now, unless you meet all these requirements, your participation in the global value chain is not going to be very effective. Let us also understand that while we have derived a competitive advantage in the offshore services, our competitive advantage in hardcore manufacturing still remains a question mark. There are a few success stories around, but we need much larger scale success stories in this. Large number of sectors have to participate, and for that we have to create much broader range of capacities in order for India's effective participation in the global value chains. There is enormous potential, there are possibilities, but what is required is very determined action on the part of both the industry, the government's attitude towards the small and medium enterprises, and the right kind of regulatory framework. What is going right for us is phenomenal entrepreneurial talent, tremendous hunger for success, but the enabling environment needs a lot to be done. And I'm sure that when you debate and discuss this, it would improve your insights about what is it that you should do. And finally, let me tell you that if India has to integrate itself with the global value chain and therefore prosper as a nation in the years to come, graduates of business schools will have a lot to do in terms of contribution in that endeavor, apart from the people passing out from vocational schools. And therefore, I think a business school debating issues of how can India succeed in the emerging environment of global value chains is truly contextual, relevant, and very important in terms of what we would like the students of business schools to be doing in the years to come. I'm really delighted that we have a personality as eminent as Mr. Sandeep Goyal to kind of come and address us on this occasion, and we all look forward to listening to him. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We would like to introduce our chief guest, Mr. Sandeep Goyal. Mr. Sandeep Goyal is the Vice Chairman of the Mugai Group. He is a renowned name in the world of media and communications. He has also served as the Group Chairman of Denso India Operations from 2003 to 2011. His prior associations include serving as Group CEO of Zee Telefilms. He has also served as President of an ad agency, Rediffusion DY&R. Currently, Mr. Goyal is Chairman of Mugai Media. Mr. Sandeep Goyal is an MBA from FMS Delhi 1984 batch. He completed his graduation in English Honours Literature securing a gold medal from Punjab University. He has completed his schooling and college from Chandigarh. He has also been associated with governing bodies of the Advertising Agencies Association of India, Indian Broadcasting Foundation, Advertising Standards Council of India, Media Research Users Council, and the US-based National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences over the years. He is also the first Indian to be on the global jury of the Emmy Awards 2002. Mr. Goyal wrote The Dum Dum Bullet, a bestseller on the business of advertising in 2003. In 2014, Conjo, The Fighting Spirit, stands as a sequel to The Dum Dum. We welcome you, sir. I request our chief guest, Mr. Sandeep Goyal, to kindly share a few words with us.
Sorry. Technology always. Good morning. Professor Dorothea, Professor Mati, members of the faculty, young managers, I'm privileged to be here. The reason I'm here is my senior, Professor Nalin Jain, called me up a few days ago. We connected after, I think, 30 odd years. And he said to me, we're having this convention and you must come. And when I was at FMS, he was the convention secretary, and when he ordered, I couldn't really say no. The only small little communication gap that happened, and I'm an advertising guy, so the most important part of being in advertising is you've got to get the brief right. Now, when Professor Nalin gave me the brief, he said, there's going to be a minister and there are going to be some speakers. You'll be one of them. So I said, Nalin, how long do I have to speak? So he said, about 10 minutes. So I said, that's fine. For an advertising guy to get up and gas for about 10 minutes, not that difficult. So then he spoke to me 2 days ago. He says, the student body has written you a mail and you haven't responded. So I didn't have the heart to tell him I don't read the mails. So in any case, so I said, Nalin, so 10 minutes. So he said, no, not 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Now that started to get me a little worried because, 10 to 15 was stretching it 50%. So I said, I am going into management school and the kids there, these days are very, very bright, and so 15 minutes maybe I should prepare a little. And this morning when I finally came in to see Professor Dorothea, he says, you're going to be the chief guest and you're going to have to speak for at least 45 minutes. They're giving me that kind of slot. So we got the brief a little wrong. So if I meander or if I tend to overstate a few things, it's just because I'm buying time. So I got actually a little flummoxed when they sent me this title to this entire convention. It said, Emergent Vision to Enhance the Reserves of the Global Value Chain, Building Brand India. I'll be honest with you, I don't understand global value chain. And whatever Professor Dorothea has said is actually enlightenment to me. So everything that had to be said on that subject has already been done. See, I understand brands. That's all I've done for 30 years. So we will today discuss Brand India. Now, honest to God, if I had prepared a little more, we could have got into very micro issues on Brand India. Unfortunately, and I must confess that today's presentation is more skimming the kind of surface. So I promised Professor Olakia, if he wants, I will come back. And I will come back, but for a 2-3 hour session, because that's the kind of session in which you can build up, a case, and you can understand, and you can dissect, and you can have the debate, and you can, get into a discussion. I must also confess to you that while I've been invited because I'm a practicing manager, I'm actually more importantly today a full-time, fully registered PhD student at FMS. And at least with your batch, I can tell you, I wrote the CAT exam again. 30 years later, I first took the FMS entrance exam in '82, and then I wrote the CAT entrance exam in 2011 or 2012. And I was asking Professor Dholaki, I said, what's your cutoff? And he said some 92%. I managed a 97th percentile in this attempt, and I'm now a fully registered PhD student at FMS. More importantly, and the fun part of it is that a year ago, I spent actually a full year in class with the MBA second year batch. So I've written and passed 8 courses, including consumer behavior. I think I heard somebody say that I'm from MICA, and the first batch of MICA, which is I think 91, 92, I ran the full consumer behavior class at MICA that year. They couldn't find a professor. I was working in Mudra, so I was sort of, packed off. So every weekend I used to steam off to Ahmedabad and run everybody through what was supposed to be consumer behavior. So these days when I go into various ad agencies and go into various client offices, I have many not so young, now slightly graying, gentlemen who are MDs of agencies and so on and so forth will come to me and, eventually sort of almost touch my feet and say, sir, I used to be in your class. I say, class? Which class, yeah? Then I suddenly remember, yeah, I to consumer behavior bhi padha raha, yeah. This has been good fun. We'll spend the next, 30-40 minutes, discuss a few issues, table a few perspectives. If we have time and if Professor Dholaki allows, we can even take a few questions at the end of it. I will again confess, but I must confess, this is not a fully baked presentation. I'm used to better stuff, so that is, nevertheless, let's get started. You see, am I getting it right? Like in every class, I suppose, when you go in, the first thing they tell you must get your basics right. So you must get some, unanimity, concurrence on what exactly we're discussing. So what is a brand? David Ogilvy, perhaps the best known of advertising guys, many years in his book wrote that a brand is the intangible sum of a product's attributes, that is, its name, its packaging, its price, its history, its reputation, and because he was an advertising guy, he says, and the way it is advertised. Right? So every brand that we talk about, whether it's Coke, Pepsi, a lot of this comes into play when we interface and we interact with a brand. But if we go away from the advertising guy and look at an independent definition of what is a brand is a collection of perceptions, and I'm going to keep going back to the word perceptions, feelings, and experiences about who you are, what you do, and how you make people feel. So, in all this discussion about Brand India, remember, collection of perceptions, feelings, and experiences. Therefore, indicating to someone outside who you are, what you do and how do you make people feel. Yeah? So when you're talking about brand India, I'm going to make references to two other brands, actually three other brands. Brand Japan, because I've worked with Japan 20 years. Brand US or America, as we commonly understand it. And I'm going to make a passing reference to a brand I'm very fond of, brand Israel. But we will, if you want, in the course of discussion, talk of, for example, brand Pakistan. Why not? Brand Dubai, brand Singapore. I mean, context and your choice set of what you discuss keeps changing. When Nalin and I went to management school, the hot topics used to be Singapore. Everybody used to talk about how Singapore is such a great story. Today nobody does, right? But brand Singapore was consciously created. And after that, lots of other brands like brand Malaysia, brand Dubai, today far more contextual, have been proactively created, right? So the discussion about brand India is not just about brand India, but brand India compared to Pakistan, Dubai, Singapore, Malaysia, Israel, Japan, US, whatever you might have, right? Now, before we, however, jump and go to next stage and say, brand, and we're going to talk about it, I must differentiate brand from product, because that is also inherent in what your student general secretary read out as the theme of the convention and all of the stuff that we're going to talk about and all the intent the Prime Minister has and so on and so forth. What's a product? Now, a product, however, as compared to a brand, is a good idea, a method, information, object or service created as a result of a process and serves a need or satisfies a want. Are we clear on that? Is there a difference? So there is a product and there is a higher level calling, which is a brand. So brand is more aspirational, product is perhaps more functional. Now, why did I make this little difference? When you read out your little address and we were making this point about Make in India campaign in order to build brand India. So I wanted to bring it back to that context first. What did he say about Make in India? Prime Minister Modi says, we want everybody to make in India. I have a point of view, we will discuss that. But he says, Make in India will help us, or that is at least the inference, will help us build brand India. Yeah? Now, before I go on, we will take a little vote here. How many of you think Make in India will help us build brand India? That's a lot of people, so I mean, Mr. Modi is still in majority. Yeah? Now, what has Mr. Modi said? Well, he read out that list. I didn't. I mean, I'm just copying from what he said. He said, we are going to build brand India by building Make in India by using talent, tradition, tourism, trade, technology. Yes? Now, I don't agree. I think we're getting that product and that brand and intent, I think a little mixed up. I don't know how many of you can see. Now, I want to know whether this is a statement of intent or is a set of tools or it is a set of guidelines or is it a brand map. Now, the reason I ask that, some smart guy in the PMO has obviously played on the 5 T's and therefore talked about talent, tradition, tourism, trade and technology. But I think, this is my interpretation, that the Prime Minister actually wants India, and Professor Dholakia talked about this in great detail. He and I hadn't really chatted about this, but he's a learned man. So, first thing, Prime Minister wants to talk about India being skilled. He wants about India to be secure. He wants India to be self-sufficient. He wants India to be self-dependent. And all of this, we hope, will make India self-confident. So I've reinterpreted his 5 T's into my 5 S's. But again, this is our internal view of what we in India would want to see our brand as. So be very clear. It is us, Indians, looking at India. Because if you're the US, you give a damn whether India is self-sufficient or self-confident or self-dependent. This is internal to us. Now, externally, and despite all the criticism he gets, and Professor Dholakia talked about how much the Prime Minister is today investing in bilateral relations. So, traveling to Japan, traveling to China, traveling to the US, traveling to Dubai recently, and so on and so forth. What does he want people outside to believe we are? I think, first and foremost, because we've been somewhat good at it, and I'm going to qualify that, saying somewhat good at it, but we have large reservoirs, the largest set of engineers passing out anywhere in the world. So he wants the world to know that we are tech, we are good at technology. Would you all agree? Yes. Yeah? So he had 5th point in that list was technology. I brought it at number 1. 2. We want ourselves to be seen as being talented. I could have used a better word. The actual word I wanted to use was innovative. All this thing about jugaad technology and whatever we talk about, building satellites and building all those fancy, Surya yans or whatever yans, which fly at a fraction of the cost. The word was more in my mind was innovative, but because we're playing with the T's, I had to stay with the T's. So I said, okay, tech is good enough and talented is good enough. Our best salesman today is actually Prime Minister Modi. What is he conveying to everyone? He is conveying to everyone our willingness to do business. Willingness to do business. We are open to business. Come, manufacture it in India. Come, we will collaborate with you. Come, we will do business with you. Something we haven't said to people in a long, long time. I know with some foreigners in our midst today, but I'm sure each of you will remember way back in history, what was India? सोने की चिड़िया, हाँ? सोने की चिड़िया हिंदुस्तान में क्या होता था? दूध के दरिया चलते थे, दूध की नदियां चलती थी, हाँ? Which is the only reason that Columbus set out to discover India. He ended up in America, and that became the, दूध की नदियां and all these सोने की चिड़िया. He found the wrong destination, except it turned out to be the right one. But be clear, I was hearing this fabulous, I don't know, whoever out of you hasn't heard it, this fabulous speech the other day at Oxford. Shashi Tharoor? No, it was news to me, but our balance of trade and our 23% share of the world economy in the 1800s, right?